Sermon 43. An idea which creates an uncertainty about religion is called a doubt. It is so named because it resembles truth and reality. Pious people walk through the darkness and gloom of doubts under the light of faith, conviction and trust in Allah. But the enemies of Allah are led by a desire to go astray and have mental obscurity and lack of foresight as their guides. Remember, those who fear death will not escape it, and those who desire immorality will not achieve it. Sermon 44. In 13 AH, Malik bin Ka'b was the governor of Ain al-Tamr, one of the provinces under Imam Ali. Malik had a very small contingent of about 100 cavalrymen with him. Muawiyah, with any declaration of war, sent an army under Nu'man bin Bashir to invade the province. When the news of this attack reached Imam Ali, he called the Muslims to go to the help of Malik, and seeing how timid and nervous they appeared and what a poor show they had put up, Imam Ali delivered the following sermon. After the sermon, Adi bin Hatim Tai came to the Imam with 1,000 warriors of Bani Hatim. Imam Ali gave him the command of an expeditionary force and advised him to collect some more men. He was busy with mobilizing his force when news arrived from Malik bin Ka'b that he, with his 100 men, had defeated Muawiyah's horde of 1,000 soldiers. I am being tried with the government of a people like you, who are so lethargic in obeying orders and so indifferent to attend to your duties. What has become of you? Why have you become so weak and timid? Why do you not rise for the cause of Allah and defend your rights and your faith? What kind of men are you? Have you no religion to bring you together and to make you help one another? Is no sense of honor and shame left with you to arouse feelings of courage and bravery in you? I am calling you to defend your country and your religion, and you do not pay attention to my call and do not get up to obey orders. Your apathy will continue till its evil consequences will become evident to you, and then you will realize the truth and importance of my counsel. But it will be too late then. With you to assist me, it is difficult to avenge the wrongs done to us and impossible to achieve the end in view. When I summoned you to help your brethren, you started lamenting like a camel suffering from colic and manifested reluctance like a beast of burden with a wounded back. And those of you who turned up in reply to my summons were mostly a crowd of confused and timid people behaving so nervously as if they were being dragged to destruction and were actually facing the horrors of a terrible death. Sermon 45. As has been stated in the notes of Sermon 40 and 41 in connection with the Battle of Siffin, Imam Ali had advised his followers not to be deceived by Muawiyah's guileful and cunning ruse, and not to accept truce and arbitration, but cash presents and promises of more to follow, with false pledges on the Holy Quran of friendship and comity, had won many of the faithless officers for Muawiyah, and except a few trusted followers, the rest refused to accept the Imam's advice and revolted outright. And Muawiyah, having thus cunningly averted a crushing defeat, treated these rebels niggardly and violated virtually all his promises. They were disillusioned and they revolted against him also. They had spiritually fallen apart, and the pains, fears, and tribulations that are always the outcome of such a pattern of sin made them desperate. In desperation, they laid the blame of this truce upon the Imam. Like all politico-religious bodies, they wanted a quasi-religious slogan to gather people around them to fight against the Imam. They selected the slogan, "With Allah alone rests the authority of the judgment." Imam Ali in this sermon throws light upon this slogan and the false meaning they wanted to derive from it. As a matter of chronological accuracy, this sermon ought to have preceded Sermon 41. But the order, as arranged by the learned compiler Sayyid Razi, is being quoted here. In this sermon, Imam Ali has enumerated the duties of a benevolent regime. The slogan which they keep on repeating is true, indeed, but they deduce wrong meaning and infer from it conclusions which are harmful to mankind. True, there can be no law and no order but that of Allah, but they infer that no one should have the authority to rule over mankind but Allah. How is it possible? Necessarily, there ought to be some form of government of man over man. There ought to be a human agency as a ruler. This may either be a pious and benevolent or an ungodly government. A divinely benevolent government is necessary, so that under its rule, Muslims and non-Muslims alike may prosper and enjoy the fruits of the efforts of their mind and body. Under its benign influence, Allah may grant them happy living and peaceful end. Under its auspicious administration, they may flourish and thrive. Under its protection, they may defend themselves from enemies. There may be safety of highways and security of life, honor, religion, and the hereafter. And the rights and claims of the poor, humble and depressed, may be saved from the clutches of rich and powerful oppressors. And the virtuous people may be protected from molestation of the vicious sinners. Sermon 46. Imam Ali gave reasons why he did not appreciate diplomacy and deceit. His teaching is that end and means both should be above every kind of vice and wickedness. He says that he knows how to cheat, how to dissimulate, or how to be diplomatic, and he has power and command over things to do it, but fear of Allah restrains him. Therefore, the guiding factor of our life should not be the so-called success, but fear of Allah. Faithfulness is, in fact, a human attribute akin to truth and veracity. And I know of no better protection to mankind from evil and harm than this. One who believes in life and the hereafter will never resort to deception and duplicity. But unfortunately, most of the people think that betrayal means wisdom, and they lead the uneducated masses to believe that hypocrisy is the best form of sagacity. I have enough knowledge and wisdom to know what diplomacy and dissimulation mean, and have enough aptitude and authority to make use of them. But before me are the commands and interdictions of Allah, which protect me from sin. Yet a man who has no respect for religion avails himself of every opportunity to profit by deceit, hypocrisy, and diplomacy. Sermon 47. Through this sermon, Imam Ali has taught us that avarice and inordinate craving will bring harm to us. Vicious ways of life will not procure for us material gains of permanent nature. We must attach more importance to the life in the hereafter. O people, I am not so much afraid of anything from your side as of your two weaknesses. One is your wish for achieving and realizing every desire and craving, and the other is your belief in inordinate hopes, daydreams. Remember that avarice and greed will prevent you from following the path of Allah, and excessive ambitions in this life will make you forget the hereafter. Beware that world often turns its face quickly away from you, and usually what is left for its pleasures for you is not more than the dampness in a glass of water after it has been turned upside down and completely drained. Beware that the hereafter is in front of you. This life and the hereafter are like two mothers, and human beings are like children. Take the life to come as your mother, and do not let this world adopt you as her son, because on the day of judgment, every child will be attached to its mother. Remember that this life is a place of work and not of judgment, and the day of judgment will be the day of reckoning and not of action. Sermon 48. Imam Ali had sent Jarir bin Abdullah Bajali as his ambassador to Muawiyah, asking him to take, like others, the oath of allegiance to Imam Ali. Jarir was still in Syria when Imam Ali was informed that Muawiyah would not accept him as caliph and was getting ready to wage a war against him, so he should also get ready for it. On that occasion, he delivered the following sermon. My getting ready for a war when Jarir is still with Muawiyah would mean that I am closing the door of peaceful negotiation for Syrians and forcing them to rebel against me, even if they have genuine and sincere desire to take the oath of allegiance to me. The fact is that I have already fixed a time for Jarir's return. If he overstays there, then there must be one of the two reasons, that either he is being fooled by Muawiyah or he has turned a rebel against me. My idea is to face facts squarely and to go about my plan calmly. So you should also be calm. Do your work rapidly, but not hysterically. There is no harm for you to be ready and be alert to meet your foe. I have given full thought to the problem before me and have fully considered the pros and cons of the case. I find that no choice is left to me. Either I have to crush the rebellion by force or submit to paganism. You must have by now realized this undeniable reality, how Islam has come to this stage and what dangers lie ahead. The previous ruler had introduced so much schism and innovation that people started criticizing him. In the beginning, they tried to advise and persuade him to leave the wrong path. But failing in this, they revolted against him. With these facts in view, it is easy to visualize how revolt against the center became easy. Sermon 49. When Maskala bin Hubaira Shaybani left Kufa and ran away to Muawiyah with some money of the government treasury to his account, Imam Ali said, May Allah not forgive Maskala bin Hubaira. In the beginning he acted like a chieftain, but in the end he fled like a slave. He did not give his eulogists time to finish their praises for him, and before they had time to testify to his good qualities, he forced them to change their views. If he had not fled, we would have forced him to pay a part of his dues and would have waited for the rest till his financial condition improved. Sermon 50. All glory is only to him, of whose favors nobody is deprived, of whose blessings nobody is left destitute, and of whose bounties nobody needs despair. One who invokes him need feel no disgrace or ignominy. His munificence is everlasting, and his blessings will never end. This world is destructible, and its inhabitants will have to desert it. To vicious-minded people, the perishable pleasures of this life are pleasing, but in fact, life quickly passes away, though one may love it dearly and madly. My advice to you is that you should pass through life in such a way that it may carry good results for you in the next world. You should take from life only such things as would be helpful to you in the hereafter. Sermon 51. On his journey to Syria, Imam Ali delivered the following sermon. It is actually a supplication. O Lord, I beseech you for your protection against the difficulties of the journey, against the sorrows of a sad return, and against finding my family and my home in distress when I come back to them. Lord, you are the best companion and guide in journey, and the best trustee under whose care I can leave my family and my house. No one but you, my Lord, can combine both these attributes in himself, to be my companion and guide. If I leave my home and heareth to your care, and to look after my family and fortune, if I ask you to be my companion and my guide on my journeys, because nobody but you, my Lord, possesses the attributes of omnipresence and omnipotence to be with everybody and everywhere at one and the same moment. Sermon 52. In a few words, Imam Ali predicted the future of Kufa and what will be the end of its oppressors. O Kufa, what I see is that people are treating you with little courtesy. They are cruel to you. They grind you with calamities and force you through catastrophes which would shake the very foundations of your peace and prosperity. But I know that the oppressor who tyrannizes you will be punished and prosecuted by Allah. Sermon 53. This sermon was delivered by Imam Ali at Nukhayla while he was proceeding towards Syria. Glory be to Allah at every setting of the night when the world sinks into darkness, and at every rising of the sun when the stars disappear. That is, till the day and night cycle exists and the revolution of earth continues, and as it will continue till the solar system continues to exist in galaxies, and it will continue till the universe exists. Therefore it means that the glory of the Allah will be continued till the universe continues to exist. Glory be to Allah, whose bounties will never end, whose blessings are gratis and do not require returns. Be it known to you that I have advanced the vanguard of my armies with instructions to stay on the banks of Euphrates till further orders. I myself have decided to cross Euphrates and reach the group of people living on the banks of Tigris, so that I may make them fight the enemies of Islam and be of help to you. Sermon 54. In a very simple language, Imam Ali has explained the very complex theory of accepting the existence of Allah and how best his existence can be realized. Glory to Allah, who knows the secrets of things, universe, and the proofs of whose existence shine in various phases of nature. No physical eye has ever seen and will ever see him. But those who have not seen him physically cannot deny his existence. Yet the minds of those who have accepted his existence cannot grasp the real essence of divine being. His place is so high that nothing can be imagined higher. He is so near to us that nothing can be nearer. The eminence of his position has not placed him further away from his creatures, and his nearness has not brought them up to his position. It is impossible for human mind to grasp the essence of his being, yet he has not prevented them from realizing his presence. Various aspects of the universe force even atheists to accept him as a grand architect of the universe. Yet he is far above the conceptions of those who refuse his existence, and also of those who imagine his attributes in various expressions of nature. Sermon 55. In this sermon, Imam Ali has thrown light on the causes of people going astray. Surely, the causes of discord and rebellion against religion are that people follow the dictates of their minds and introduce innovations and schisms against the explicit orders of the Book of Allah. Consequently, by violating the commands of Allah, such persons are considered heads of the religion, though they know nothing about religion. The fact is that had falsehood been allowed to keep itself from truth, seekers of truth would have easily discerned it and would have eschewed falsehood. And had truth been allowed to appear distinct from falsehood, people would not have found it easy to criticize religion. But unfortunately, men started distorting truth, and the Satan took advantage of this situation and got complete control over the minds of his followers. Only those persons who, with the help of Allah, have advanced towards sober and rational ways of meditation can escape his traps. Sermon 56. In the early stages of the Battle of Siffin, Muawiyah and his armies occupied the river Euphrates and stopped the supply of water to the Imam, challenging him to take the river by force. The Imam, overthrowing Muawiyah's forces, took possession of the river and allowed the army of the enemy free use of the water. Just before the battle, Imam Ali delivered this sermon. The army of your enemy has challenged you for a battle. You should either accept the defeat and the resulting humiliation, or accept the challenge and soak your swords with the blood of your enemy and your throats with the water of Euphrates. Remember that, while defending Islam, if you accept defeat and lead the life of a subdued person, such a life will be worse than death. And if you die defending your faith, then in such a death there is eternal life. Beware, Muawiyah has collected hordes of ignorant people, whom he has misguided as much as possible, and from whom he has hidden the goodness of truth and religion, till phonetically they have offered their throats as targets for the arrows of death. Sermon 57. This sermon is a warning to those who believe that this world and the life upon it are the only important items of creation. They do not attach any value to the life in the hereafter, and do not realize either the extent of his mercy, munificence and kindness, or the enormity of their sins. Some commentators think that this was a lengthy sermon dealing with the destructibility of life upon this earth, weaknesses which human flesh is heir to, and his mercy and kindness towards his creatures. But as the whole sermon could not be obtained intact, its various parts, as and when procured by Sayyid Razi, are found scattered in Nahj al-Balagha, appearing as separate sermons. Beware that this earth and life upon it are destructible. Nature has fully disclosed this fact to you. All those things that please you here are perishable. Usually they depart from you very quickly. This world, in the course of time, is leading its inhabitants towards death and decay. Often its pleasures end in troubles and sorrows, and bright hopes terminate in disappointments and failures. Remember that its enjoyments and happiness never satiate anybody. They often do not even suffice. O creatures of Allah, be ready for eternal separation from the house, whose inhabitants are destined to decay and perish. Take care that inordinate hopes may delude you, and you may start believing that the very span of your life is a long sojourn. By Allah, if you cry like a she-camel whose baby has died, lament like a hurt dove, invoke and call Allah like a monk, and renounce your family and fortune like an ascetic, to gain the favor of Allah or to secure His forgiveness for such of your sins as have been recorded by His angels, then in my opinion, if you do all this penitence and even much more, it stands nowhere before the greatness, immensity, and the extent of His kindness and benevolence, which He bestows upon human beings, or before the enormity of punishment, which, I'm afraid, your sins deserve. You can never realize the greatness and the glory of His benevolence, or enormity of your sins, and your greatest efforts are not sufficient to achieve the one or to save you from punishment for the other. Only His mercy and your sincere and faithful belief in Him can help you. Even if you cry your heart out, hurt your eyes by constant weeping, and even if you lead the life of an ascetic till the end of the world, you will not be able to make compensation for a tithe of His goodwill and kindness, His bounties and munificence, and His mercy and charity, which direct you towards the path of truth and religion. Sermon 58. Imam Ali has in the following words explained what kind of animals could be sacrificed on the festival of Eid al-Azha. If the ears and eyes of an animal are healthy and sound, it is fit for sacrifice, no matter if its horns are broken, and even if it is slightly lame and it limps to the place of slaughter. Sermon 59. Just before the Battle of Siffin, Imam Ali was trying his best to abstain from war and the resulting bloodshed. But Muawiyah was keen to measure his army's strength with that of the army of Imam Ali. And on the side of Imam Ali, not only the officers, but the rank and file of his army were also so anxious for an all-out encounter with the enemy that they madly crowded round him, beseeching his permission to fight. On that occasion, Imam Ali said, "They flocked round me like thirsty camels crowding round a watering place when released for a drink. They were anxiously and repeatedly demanding my permission for the battle, till I became apprehensive, lest either they should try to kill me or start fighting amongst themselves and killing one another. I fully considered the apparent and inherent consequences of a war and came to the conclusion that only two alternatives were left for me, either to fight the rebels or to forsake the teachings of the Holy Prophet. I adopted the first course because I felt that it was wiser to fight than to face the punishment in the hereafter, and that death was far better than eternal damnation." Sermon 60. Imam Ali has always averse to shedding human blood. Hence, he was delaying to commence the battle at Siffin. He tried his best to avoid a battle and to peacefully settle the dispute. On the contrary, his companions became restive, and due to procrastination, they started rumoring that he was feeling nervous and timid. He replied to them in the following words: "It is not right for you to say that I am hesitating to start the war because I am afraid of death. Let Allah be my witness that I never cared whether I approached death or death approached me. And you are equally wrong to say that my delaying the war is due to the fact that I am not fully convinced of the righteousness of my cause and falsity of the claims of Muawiyah and his Syrian hordes. By Allah, I never delayed war even for a day, but with the hope that some of the rebels might come back to me and through me they might be guided towards religion, and seeing the divine light might try to illuminate their lives with it. I like this better than massacring them or leaving them in darkness of sin, for even death is not going to bring them peace and comfort. Sermon 61. During the Battle of Siffin, Imam Ali saw that those people who were clamoring most for the battle and were loudest in complaining of the delay and most boisterous about their bravery proved themselves to be timid and coward when the war actually broke out. In the following speech, he explained to them the consequences of their cowardice and timidity, and told them what type of people were those who accompanied the Holy Prophet, how selfless and sincere were they in the cause of Allah, and how they helped in securing a heaven in Medina. Those of us who were with our Holy Prophet, peace of Allah be upon him and his descendants, were so selfless and sincere in the service of Islam that while defending our Prophet and our religion, they fought against their nearest and dearest ones. And it was our sincerity which increased our faith in Allah, our desire to willingly and gladly submit to His will, our earnest wish to follow the right path, our will to bear patiently the sorrows and calamities, and our zeal and zest to fight to the best of our ability against the enemies of Allah and Islam. Often there used to be single combats. One person from each side would come to fight the other. Usually, it used to be a fight unto death. The combatants kept on fighting till one fell dead. Sometimes we succeeded, at other times some of us suffered defeat and death. At last, when Allah tested the sincerity of our desire, the honesty of our purpose, and the zest of our action, He crowned us with victory and disgraced our enemies with defeat, till the Muslims became a powerful community and found the country to live in safely and happily, and Islam became popular amongst the people. I swear by my life that if we had behaved as you are behaving now, if we had been as nervous and timid as you are today, if we had been as wavering and lethargic as you are, the pillar of faith could not have been erected, and the tree of religion could not have bloomed. By Allah, your thoughts and deeds are destroying you and will bring shame and disgrace to you. Sermon 62. In this sermon, there is a prophecy that Muawiyah would rule the Islamic world after the death of Imam Ali and would force the people to calumniate the Imam and forsake him. Imam Ali advises people what to do then. It is a prophecy which came out true. Certainly after my death, you will be overpowered and ruled by a pot-bellied glutton. He will eat away whatever he will find, and will even demand for things which are not available. Beware, he will ask you to calumniate me and to disown me. So far as calumniation is concerned, you can obey his orders, because it will save you from his wrath and tyranny, and it will vindicate the truth of my cause. But so far as disowning me is concerned, you should not do so, because I am a Muslim by birth, and I was the first to testify on behalf of the Holy Prophet and to accept the ordeal of confinement with the Holy Prophet to Shib Abi Talib. Sermon 63. When Muawiyah violated the terms of the Treaty of Siffin and started getting ready for an invasion of Kufa, Imam Ali decided not to wait for Muawiyah's attack, but to invade Syria himself. He asked Khajiites to come to his help, but they refused on the plea that being the lawful caliph, he should not have submitted to the arbitration, and by so doing he had deliberately violated the principles of Islam. It was an open apostasy, and only if he confessed and repented it, they would come to his help. He, in reply to their message, spoke thus: "May you be punished by Allah for falsely defaming me. May nobody remain amongst you to correct your wrong views and to introduce reforms in your society. Having the faith that I have in Allah and keeping the company with the Holy Prophet, I defended Islam and Muslims in the battlefields and outside of them. Do you expect me to wrongly accept apostasy just to please you? It would be unfair to adopt such a course, and if I do it, people will have a right to consider me as misguided. The right course for you is to give up your false views and to come back to the fold of true religion. Beware, your misguided policy will bring death and destruction to you. I'm afraid in near future, tyrants and oppressors will make a habit of subjecting you to humiliation, tyranny and death." This prophecy came true in the Battle of Naharawan, in which about 9,000 enemy men were killed, and history shows that after the passing away of Imam Ali, Muhallab bin Abi Sufra, Ubaidullah bin Umar, Harith bin Rabia, Abdurrahman bin Mikhnaf, and lastly Hajjaj bin Yusuf were most keen on killing the Khajiites, and for years they were tortured and driven from pillar to post. Sermon 64. When the Khajiites adopted an aggressively militant attitude and resolved to invade Basra, Imam Ali was informed that their army had crossed the bridge at Naharawan and was marching towards the capital. Imam Ali replied, "They will all be killed on that side of Tigris. I swear by Allah that out of their army hardly 10 men will escape death, and from amongst you hardly 10 will be martyred." Allama Sheikh Muhammad Abdur of Egypt says, this prophecy came out to be true. In the Battle of Naharawan, the whole of their army was annihilated, and only 9 Khajiites could flee the battlefield to propagate their belief, and out of the army of Imam Ali, only 10 people were killed. And when he was informed of this and was told that Khajiites had come to an end, he remarked what is contained in the following sermon. The last words of it contain the greatest and the highest value of ethics. It shows the respect that Imam Ali wanted to create in the minds of the people about sincere decisions. Every person should have a right to profess his own faith, and unless he leads a life harmful to mankind, following the Satan, he should not be molested. No, by Allah, it is not the case. The Khajiites institution has not come to an end. Many more Khajiites will still be born, and whenever they will gather under a leader and a banner, they will be killed till their last generation will be forced to lead the life of dacoits and thieves. But after my death, you should not kill Khajiites, because he who is in search of truth and religion and has failed to reach this goal is better than the person who is in search of the Satan and finds him and follows him. Sermon 65. When Imam Ali was informed that some persons were planning to make a surprise attack on him and kill him, he said, Allah's protecting shield is still protecting me. On the day which is fixed for my death, this shield will disappear and will hand me over to death. On that day, death will not miss its target, and the mortal wound will not heal. Sermon 66. Some commentators think this sermon is a part of Sermon 57. In this, Imam Ali has recounted the realities of life and what one has to face and how to deal with them. Remember that this world is a place where there is no safety from sorrows and afflictions while one is engulfed in it. Whatever worldly gains a man acquires cannot secure salvation for him. Human beings are tried here with calamities and sorrows and are tempted by impiety and sin. Those who have collected worldly pleasures around them will have to leave them. And on the day of reckoning, they will have to give an account of how they came in possession of such wealth or power and what they did with it. And those who have spent their lives in good deeds shall find their rewards waiting for them in paradise, which they shall enjoy forever. Sages always looked upon this world as a shadow which would appear spreading, contracting, and finally disappearing. Sermon 67. In this sermon, Imam Ali has warned us of certain basic facts about life. First of all, he draws our attention towards the fact that life and everything connected with it is mundane and mortal. Life is being shortened with the passage of every moment. The permanent abode of man is paradise or hell. One must, in this life, try to gain a place in paradise. The second point, which Imam Ali emphasizes, is death. It is sure to come, but its approach is incomprehensible, mysterious, unobserved, and unavoidable. We must always be ready to face it. Then there is the warning about Satan, how he wants to mislead us, and painting sins and vices with charm and beauty, how he tries to allure us to his domain. Lastly, Imam Ali advises us to realize that we are not created without any purpose. Hence, we must attain that purpose by virtuous deeds. O people, fear Allah and do everything in anticipation of death, and try to attain everlasting blessings in place of transitory and perishable wealth, power, and pleasures of this world. Be prepared for a fast passage, because here you are destined to stay for a short time. Always be ready for death, because you are living under its shadow. Be wise like the people who have heard the message of Allah and have taken a warning from it. Beware that this world is not your eternal abode. You will have to leave it for the hereafter. Allah, glory be to Him, has not created you without a purpose and has not left you without duties, obligations, and responsibilities. There is no barrier between you and paradise or the hell, but that of death, which everyone will have to cross. Life, which is being shortened by every tick of a second, is like a building which is being undermined and may fall down any moment. Human being whom each turn of night and day is driving towards his end is destined to reach there soon. Death, which approaches everybody with certain and steady pace, and which may either bring success or failure for the hereafter, deserves to be warmly welcomed. You must remember to gather from this life such harvest as will be of use and help to you in the hereafter. Every human being should fear the Almighty Allah, should train his mind for virtuous and honorable ideas in sincere and just deeds, should repent of his sins and vices, and should keep his desires
longings and impulses under control. Because the approach of death is so incomprehensible, so mysterious, so insidious, and so unobserved that it is never realized or felt, because inordinate ambitions and desires often cheat and make one to go astray, and because Satan is always watching for opportunities to enslave you, is trying to depict sins and vices with beauty and charm to entrap you with them, and is constantly endeavoring to make you give up the desire of sober thinking and repentance with bright hopes till death comes upon you suddenly at a time when you were expecting it the least. I pity negligent and unmindful people, because on the day of judgment their deeds will act as proof against their ill intentions and evil deeds and lead them to hell. I pray to Allah to make me amongst the persons whom His bounties have not made proud and arrogant, whose deeds and accomplishments have not kept them away from obedience to Him, and whom death will not bring sorrows and shame, repentance and regret. Sermon 68. In this sermon, Imam Ali has taught us how to comprehend the might and the glory of Allah, His omnipresence and omnipotence. He wants us to understand that we can never fully realize or envisage His being or imagine His attributes. He has cited certain examples of human attributes, comparing human limitations with His omnipotence, so that we may not imagine Him as a magnified example of our good qualities and attributes, a Superman. In the same way, Imam Ali has explained that Allah is beyond the limits of time and space and beyond the possibility of a beginning or an end. Praise and glory be to the Supreme Being, whose existence is not subjected to any change of circumstances and conditions. He was before anything came into existence and will remain after everything has come to an end. His glory and greatness was distinctly apparent and unmistakably evident, even before minds of His creatures could try to realize or discern it. Except Him, every object which we think of is insignificant and paltry. Every existing thing believed to be great is humble and modest. Every being imagined to be strong is weak and timid. Everyone supposed to be master of himself or of his surroundings is actually a slave of circumstances. Every person deemed to be learned is in reality no better than a school child, and every creature considered to be mighty is in fact a weakling, helpless in the hands of nature. Every ear but his is unable to hear the faint sounds, is deafened by harsh ones, and is incapable of perceiving the distant ones. No eye but his can discern the palest shades of the colors, or can behold ethereal objects. Except His sublime being, every other thing supposed to be having a distinct entity has no important place in the universe. And every being supposed to have a mystical origin actually has an unmistakably ascertainable existence. He did not bring into existence His creatures to strengthen His kingdom, to arm Himself against the change of circumstances, or defend Himself against His rivals and enemies. They were the created beings whom He nourished, over whom he has complete control and who are absolutely humble and weak before his power and might. He has not incarnated himself into his creatures, and it cannot be said that he is part of the universe or things created by him. Neither he is far away from his creation, nor can this be said that he is quite aloof from and has no control over it. Bringing the universe into existence has neither tired him, nor has the origination of the cosmos exhausted him. Neither he felt helpless and deficient in having complete control over his creatures, nor had he ever any uncertainty about the program of creation. He never doubted about his decisions. Fates of things ordained by him are inevitable and unavoidable. His knowledge is supreme. His orders are binding. When calamities and disasters overwhelm us, we can have hope in him alone. And when we are surrounded with wealth and affluence, we must not forget his displeasure and wrath. Sermon 69. In the Battle of Siffin, one day both the armies fought continuously for 24 hours. The fight during the night was terrible. It is called Laylatul Harir. On the morning of that night, Imam Ali spoke thus to his officers: O Muslims, make a habit of always remembering and fearing Allah. And during a battle, be calm, self-relying, resolute and bold. Only thus you will keep enemies' swords away from you. Keep your arms and armor in order and make certain that your swords can easily and freely come out of the sheaths. Keep an eye on your enemies, and while fighting, use your spears and swords freely. Remember that Allah is watching you, and you are fighting under command of the cousin and son-in-law of the Holy Prophet. Peace of Allah be upon him and his descendants. Keep on constantly attacking the enemy. Do not accept the shame and disgrace of a defeat or rout, for which you shall be punished on the day of judgment, because yours is a jihad in defense of Islam, truth and justice. Death in this battlefield is a death in the cause of Allah, and you must, as true Muslims, face it cheerfully and must advance towards it unfalteringly, unflinchingly, boldly and gladly. The hordes of your enemy's army are in front of you. Attack them and try to reach the yonder tent. The Satan is resting in the shade of that tent, ready either to advance or to retreat. You must fight resolutely and courageously till the divine light illuminates your way and success leads you towards glory and Allah. Allah the Almighty is with you, and He will not grudge to reward you generously for your courage and bravery in this jihad. 770. When the news of the happenings of Saqifa Bani Saida reached Imam Ali, he inquired about the reactions of the Ansar to the question of the Caliphate. To his astonishment, Ali was informed that the Ansar also fell a prey to the lure of rulership and demanded that, as a price of their agreement to this so-called election, they must also be given leadership, and there should be one leader from the Muhajirs and one from the Ansar. The Imam inquired why nobody reminded the Ansar of the will of our Holy Prophet, peace of Allah be upon him and his descendants, that the virtuous Ansar should be treated kindly and the bad ones should be forgiven. The companions inquired of the Imam as to how. this would have acted as an inspiration for the Ansar, he replied, if leadership and caliphate could have been the right of the Ansar, the Holy Prophet would not have willed for kindness and clemency to them. Because a desire for kindness and mercy is to safeguard the privilege of the ruled and not to defend the ruler. Then Imam Ali inquired about the way the Quraysh replied to the demand of Ansar. He was told that the Quraysh claimed to belong to the same patriarch as the Holy Prophet. Apparently, the claim of kinship stopped the Ansar from pressing their demand. The Imam remarked, they, the Quraysh, argued for the tree and ignored its fruit. 771. Muhammad, the son of Caliph Abu Bakr, was adopted by Ali after the death of the Caliph. Ali loved, treated and trained this boy as his own son. During his lifetime, he was always called Muhammad bin Ali and was also designated as the third after Hasnain, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. He grew up to a handsome, bold, virtuous and learned young man. He also loved the Imam and hated his enemies with the intensity that love of truth in young age and bold nature could produce. With all his good qualities, he had one weakness, which caused him his death. He always underrated his enemies. While sending him to Egypt as governor, Imam Ali had advised him to be very careful of Muawiyah. Unfortunately for himself and Egypt, he did not attach as much importance to this advice as it deserved. He overestimated his strength, lost the battle against Amr bin As, and was later duped and killed by Muawiyah's henchmen. News of his death saddened the Imam, and on that occasion he said, I wanted to appoint Hashim bin Utbah as the governor of Egypt. If I had done so, he would not have left Egypt unguarded and would not have given the enemy a chance to invade and occupy it. But thus praising Hashim, I have no intention of censoring Muhammad. He was my adopted son, and we always loved each other. As a matter of fact, Imam Ali loved Muhammad so much that on one occasion he said, Muhammad is my son, though born of Abu Bakr. Sermon 72. How far can I caress you as a she-camel with a wounded back is caressed? Or how long can I keep on treating you tenderly and delicately as if you are old clothes, which, when stitched on one side, get torn on the other, and the user cannot replace them? From your timidity and cowardice, it is apparent that if one of the armies of Syria appears on the horizon, every one of you, like a desert lizard or a hyena, will scamper to your house and will bolt the door from inside. I swear by Allah that he who believes in your help and who tries to secure a success with your aid will earn disgrace and defeat. You gather in crowds in city squares, but on a battlefield, only a few of you can be seen. I know how to force you to submission and obedience, and how to make you work. But I do not want to be a tyrant and a slave driver. I want you to serve Allah and religion of your own free will. May you be disgraced by Allah. Do you not realize that you are drawn more towards falsehood and sin than towards truth and religion? And you do not hate vice as much as you abhor virtue.